All-Star Derby of the 2018 Backyard Baseball League All-Star Break.
Break. I love breaks. Breaks are great.
We have just an absolute thriller scheduled here for you guys. We've got 4 competitors. Of the 5 submitted, 1 did not hit a single home run, and that was Sean Green.
Ah, yikes, Sean. Didn't eat your Wheaties for breakfast.
Why did Sean compete in the first place? Rumor has it he has some kind of power, but he must have left it at home.
I thought it was an ego issue, but I guess I heard that incorrectly.
It must be if your nickname is Squeaky.
Squeaky.
Without further ado, we're going to get along with our broadcast here. We've got 4 competitors in the Home Run Derby and then a couple of player-manager interviews. And then, of course, throughout this whole time, we will find it our pleasure to talk about whatever we want.
You know, Ken, if I can just stop you for a quick second. The Home Run Derby is one of my favorite events of the year.
Absolutely.
Not only because it is a solo performance by an individual, but because we get to see the raw power in some of these backyard kids. Now, if I can just quickly mention, without getting too out of hand, as a backyard kid back in the day when I played and won a World Series, that's right, thank you, I had some serious raw power. It wasn't an aluminum power bat. It wasn't extra Wheaties. It was just my good genetics.
This is Ken Griffey Jr. alongside Pedro Alvarez. And you've heard it from us first, and you'll hear it many times afterwards. It's the raw power that comes from a diet of juice boxes and breast milk. Without any more nonsense, here's Ahmed Khan of the Wombats competing in the Home Run Derby. Again, remember the format is 15 outs, and any time that the bat is swung and the result is not a home run, that is considered an out.
An out, correct. And this is on hard still with no pitch locator or any other assistance on. So the batter is truly in regular season format.
You are just trying to do your best.
That's all you can ask of kids. Do your best.
To see the ball and hit the ball. Here's Ahmed Khan. Ahmed Khan with 4 home runs on the season for the Wombats.
You know, Ahmed's one of those kids who, after I've watched now for a little while, has really impressed me. You know, we have our discussion about that raw power, and I think Ahmed is one of those characters who, when out the plate, is serious and set on displaying it.
And I think that nobody speaks more highly of of Ahmed than his player manager, Pat Cook. Ahmed, not his first-round draft pick. Ken Griffey Jr. was his first-round draft pick.
A solid choice.
Taken, I believe it was either 2nd or 3rd overall. I believe it was 3rd overall.
Wow.
But hasn't gotten near the production out of junior as he has out of Ahmed Khan.
Now, early in the broadcast, we have had our discussion.
There's a struck ball deep into right field. Does it have enough? It sure doesn't. Ahmed Khan has his first home run of the Derby. Chalk it up.
That was phenomenal. Great knock there by Ahmed. You know, we talk about character playing a role in these kids' lives, and it's one fun fact of the day is that when Ahmed plays on the same team as his brother, Amir, Ahmed actually improves.
I believe it's Amir that improves.
You could be right, Ken. Usually, when I'm broadcasting, I am 100% wrong. Everything I say. Dead wrong.
I will keep that in mind. Ahmed Khan with 1 home run. Still looking for that pitch, which, if I were going to apply my own analysis, we're looking for a pitch middle, outside. And there, of course, is that pitch in the middle of the plate. There's a big, towering fly ball to left field, but it will die before it reaches the wall. Ahmed Khan with one of those unique swings, the tomahawk. Have you found that it's been true that a certain type of swing has yielded better results?
You know, in my discussions from player managers, whether it's been talking with Derek or Paul or Pat or anybody else in the league, you know, it's interesting because they all have their theories. I don't think anything is proven. You know, we all talk speculatively.
Oh, there's a swing and a weak fly ball in the infield, another out for Ahmed Khan.
But everybody's got their own opinions as to what works and what doesn't. And if we look at the raw data, you kind of can back up some of those conclusions. What I mean by that is each PM has their own way that they choose to decide to hit. And I think it plays out in the numbers as to what works and what doesn't. And if that didn't make sense to you, it didn't make sense to me either.
Yeah, I think that we've been looking for the surefire way to success, and we just haven't found it yet. And I think that some of the conjecture that's been going around is absolutely right in that once we get to the playoffs, there's a ball struck to deep center field. Does it have enough? Does it have enough? At the base of the wall, it is an out. Ahmed still looking for that second home run.
You talk about PMs looking for that key to success. It's really like trying to find a good Chinese restaurant close to your house. It just doesn't happen. Everybody thinks, this restaurant good, this restaurant's good. No. It's all in their opinion.
It's all about finding the right fried egg roll. Will Ahmed find that egg roll here?
I think you mispronounced it. I think it's fried egg roll, but that's just, I don't know. That could be, that's, again, I'm probably wrong.
Depending on if you found the right restaurant.
So let me ask you a question here, if I can. How important do you feel that pitch selection is for these kids? You know, you talk about finding pitches middle away. You know, obviously that approach probably changes with 2 strikes, but how much of a factor does that play into, you know, your discussions that you've had with PMs?
I think it's a discussion that is on the rise. I think it's something that only a few player managers have really capitalized on, and now a couple more have taken those thoughts into batting practice to find the idiosyncrasies of their own players.
Mm-hmm.
I think it hasn't been the kind of discussion that it should be.
Right.
And I think that which pitches you're hitting, open or closed, and then the location of a fastball, all of that does matter.
Yeah.
I do.
I agree. I really agree.
Ahmed Khan is running out of outs to make this happen.
It's important with pitch selection in the Derby to really find the pitches that you can groove out of the ballpark. Looks like Ahmed here is consistently looking for that.
He's looking for that outside fastball, and he did get one. He's launched it to deep left center field. Does it have enough carry to make it out of here? Another one dying at the track.
Wow. You know, I really thought that ball had a chance of leaving the park. I did.
And we have received word that balls that are hit off of the scoreboard will be scored as a home run.
Is that right?
That is correct.
Wow. Okay.
Seeing as they do strike above the yellow line on the fence, it may be an error in scoring that has been present in regular season games, but for the sake of the Derby, they will be scored as home runs.
You know, I have to say, I was a little shocked when player manager Pat Cook nominated Ahmed Khan in place of Ken Griffey Jr. for the Home Run Derby.
And I think it's a testament to, again, just the success that he's had with Ahmed Khan and not Junior. I think it's a case where if there's a way to have success with Junior at the plate, Pat Cook has just not found it.
Yeah, I agree, and I think
There's another pitch on the outside part of the plate, and it is just absolutely demolished to right field.
Smashed.
And you didn't see it even come down until you get to the upper foliage of the tree in right field.
Wow. You know, has this kid been drug tested?
After we see a couple more home runs, I think we should start having that conversation as well.
I think the cup's smaller to pee in, though, since they're still kids. On that note, back to my point,
And here's just a little fly ball, won't make it out of the infield.
I think it all really ties in from the discussion we've had, the different arms that we've brought up and points. PMs just have different ways of playing with different players. Players' stats are facts, right? We see, you know, what number they have in speed, what number they have in power. But in regards to utilization of those individuals and when their strengths, I think that plays a difference into execution of runs and how well players do throughout the season.
I think that the power strategy that the Bombers have so capitalized on here early in the season is now something that other player managers are considering, and that, again, is why pitch selection is becoming more important. There's a pitch on the outside part of the plate that's driven back to the right field wall and will only make it to the base of the wall. Yet another out for Ahmed Khan.
So with heading into the All-Star break and seeing the Bombers post such ginormous home run numbers. I took the liberty and texted player manager Derek Barnhart just to ask if I could have some time to do a quick interview, his opinion as to why they've hit so many bombs. And looking at my notes here, it looks like from his discussion with me,
there's a ball driven just to the shortstop.
He attributes
driven and parked at the shortstop.
He attributes his players' success to a number of things. I guess as a player manager last year, he felt he still had some kinks to learn in regards to managing his play, in regards to that pitch selection we had a discussion about, and really in just regards to finessing the roster appropriately to utilize the power efficiently. You know, you look at a guy's lineup like player manager Derek Barnhart, and he has multiple players in his lineup who have the ability to drive the ball hard. But I think managing as to where you put those players and how you play those players also is an attribute and a testament to the numbers he's been putting up for home runs.
And I would totally agree with that. And then along the lines of, like you said, some of those opinions that we get from player managers and how they think that their season is going, I want to take an opportunity to at least take a look at those and maybe see what different player managers are thinking about. Let's talk first with the player manager of the player that we just saw. Let's talk with Pat Cook of the Wombats and see what he has to say.
Excellent.
About his season.
Pat Cook, owner, player manager of the Wombats. Pat, tell us a little bit about the upside of your team this first half.
Upside of my team, instantly I think of the ability to turn the double play. Sidney Weber has been excellent on the mound, not always getting strikeouts, but always putting the ball in ground ball situations. Barry Larkin has a cannon over to first base, so double plays are a routine thing for the Wombats. Batting for average has been going well as well. Tend to get 1-2 runners on base every inning easily, and then after that, it's kind of where the wheels fall off.
So what have been the keys to success for you here in this first half?
Key to success is getting my fast players on base and then giving them the open base paths to run around, not giving up many runs. So there was a couple games giving up 2 or 3 runs, but other than that, been pretty lights out.
What would you say has been the biggest obstacle so far first half?
Biggest obstacle is kind of like a no-brainer, most people would say, but scoring runs. Find it easy to get people on base, even load up the bases. But as far as knocking those extra runners in, it's been particularly difficult to get more than a 4, 5, 6 run differential.
So in your mind, what's the answer here second half to remain competitive?
Not putting any fly balls out there. I know that oftentimes we'll hit for power and the ball just won't get out of the park, especially in Ekman Acres, which is a deep ballpark. So getting the ball in play with some speed, able to come around home plate, and then always taking advantage of those power-up battings. Those can be the key to success.
Who would you say you're hoping for a turnaround on your team here second half?
I hope for big things out of Griffey. I know that he's been okay so far, but really has not earned his number 2 overall draft pick yet. So hoping to see a little more success from him at the plate.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
You heard it there from player manager Pat Cook. That's what he's got.
You know, it's interesting with Pat bringing up the fact with his team that he feels like he hits more for average. And again, we talk about strategies. I'm beating a dead horse here, or I'm beating a dead goat. I don't know what I'm beating. But he talks about hitting for average, right? For Pat, that's great. You have to utilize your players and their potential to the best chance of success. And if that's average for him, then that's what you have to do.
Yeah. Let's take it to Sammy Sosa here. And his home run derby efforts. So we see a different approach here for Sammy Sosa. We're looking at the left hook in a closed stance.
That is surprising to me, Ken. I would not have guessed that Sosa would choose that. Sosa deciding to choose his great uncle, Mr. Clanky, as the home run derby pitcher for today.
And Sammy Sosa, Yeah, I'm correct in this. He is in fact he's an athletic. I often forget because the Athletics are a bunch of no names.
That is true. And honestly, if we talk about potential threats, I think it lies in the no names. It's always important to watch out for the team that's coming from nowhere.
So what's the magic number here for Sammy Sosa? He's trying to get started on it right now. A big fly ball to right field. It will clear, and he's got his first home run.
Phenomenal power here by Sosa. It's really just a testament to what this kid can produce. We look at his raw numbers during the season. Sosa's put up some decent numbers. I know we talk about him lacking speed, but at the plate, he is a real threat.
And I think that Sammy Sosa is just one of those slow eights. He's an 8, but he's a slow 8. I think Junior's a slow 8.
I think my mom called me a slow 8 once.
Sosa looking for his pitch. It seems he needs 2 to tie Ahmed Khan, 3 to beat him. Foul ball back. That will be, of course, an out. Any pitch that is swung on and does not result in a home run is an out.
I still believe that foul ball went 435 feet backwards.
If we were playing cricket, Sammy Sosa would have himself another one. I think that's the pitch he's looking for, and it is indeed lifted to right field, but it's not going to quite have enough.
Landing on the very crest of the top of the fence.
That's something special. Now, again, this strategy, not what I would have expected. But with the short left and right field fence here at Parks Department number 2, should I be that surprised?
You shouldn't.
Now, I think it's important to note, in batting practice, you can't choose the location, and you might wait for a while to get the pitch you're looking for.
That is very true.
Like that one, it's lifted to center field. It's going back to the wall.
Just shy.
Just dying. And again, if it hits the scoreboard, it is counted as a home run. But it doesn't have enough to get there.
This is making me question if Sammy was correct in choosing the left hook as his pitch of choice.
There's another foul ball back.
We talk about fat pitches, right? Now, let me be clear. I said fat pitches and what they can do for players at the plate. And a guy like Sosa, I'm just not so sure the left hook was the answer.
He's still got time to prove it's the answer.
Now, if I was a PM myself, right, and I was drafting, Sosa would be high up on my draft stock, okay? I'm a believer in speed. I really am. But if you look at a guy like Sosa in game, I think he really has the raw power to contribute to high run differentials.
There's a ball lifted just to the shortstop. Another out. I will give you this story with absolutely the highest level of fidelity.
Okay, hit me with it.
I was at one point in my childhood playing with Sammy Sosa at Tin Can Alley.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
A heater in the high and tight corner took a swing at this pitch and hit it over the building.
Wow.
Over 500 feet, no aluminum power.
Tin Can Alley.
Tin Can Alley. We're talking about the field with no home run possible.
Unbelievable.
He hit a home run over the building in Tin Can Alley.
Wow. I can't even say that I'm surprised.
Boy, I'd really love to see some of that power on display right now. That's all to say, Sammy Sosa's got some real power.
He really does. He's just struggling right now. And I know we talk about, with this being the inaugural home run derby, some guys just come to the derby and perform differently. If we look at the pros, the big leagues, Major League Baseball, we see guys like Chris Bryant. Let's go back to 2015, if you will. We're looking at Great American Ballpark. He's a rookie that year. The hype was high for Chris Bryant to come out and produce. He's a big guy. He's got a great swing. He's got a lot of power. But at the home run derby, he just didn't produce. Fly ball after fly ball after fly ball, and he was out in the first round.
Fate chose Todd Frazier.
The Todd father really came through that night. Ken, I was actually there announcing as a side announcer for that game and was able to witness the Todd father's epic feat.
I also was at that event. I remember an idiot with a sign saying Pete Rose has his money on Chris Bryant.
That's insensitive. I don't know who.
To whom?
That's insensitive to Pete Rose.
To talk about this more, we've brought in the Cowboy, who was, of course, at the game in which Marty Brenneman denounced all Cubs fans.
And rightfully so.
Cowboy, what do you have to say about that?
Well, I know that we've been talking about Cubs fans for a long time. And they're just a bunch of morons. I've never, ever, ever had a bowl of UDF ice cream that has been colder than the heart that I have towards Cubs fans.
Wow. So, Cowboy, if I can stop you there for a second, that's some very strong words towards Cubs fans. Not that I disagree, because I wholeheartedly agree, but it sounds like you have quite the past history with Cubs fans getting on your bad side and creating a sour taste in your mouth. I have to say that personally, I've met a few Cubs fans, and while they can be obnoxious, I still find that they're okay fans.
Cowboy, are you there? Are you there, Cowboy?
Maybe he took off.
I believe we've lost the Cowboy. He was here for just a moment. But that was all that we had from Sammy Sosa, whose performance was
mediocre at best.
Mediocre at best. We are sorry to say it. So let's move on to our next competitor, who is none other than the one, the only, if he can even find him, Mark McGwire. And now we're talking about some real power right here.
Definitely. We look at a guy like Mark, and, I'm not sure if this kid in the future will make many ethical decisions, as I feel like he had a rough upbringing with his parents. It's always tough to see a kid struggle in his adolescence, and you just wonder how that will affect his decision-making in the future.
But wow, what a cute head of curly-headed hair.
It's just so red.
Mark McGwire looking for that pitch, and that is not it. I feel like anybody who's been looking fastball has been looking middle away.
One of the great joys and pleasures of...
There's a ball driven deep to right field. Does it have enough life to make it to the fence? And it does. Over the scoreboard, Mark McGwire has his first home run of this home run derby.
One of the pleasures and joys of my job is being able to see the fruition of what these backyard kids produce at the pro level. And Mark is the kind of guy who just has that raw talent and ability to be a productive ball player in the big club.
And there is yet another drive driven deep to right field. I think it's got enough, and indeed it does. Back-to-back home runs for Mark McGwire, evening Ahmed Khan's bid for Home Run Derby King, and I believe Sammy Sosa's as well.
Wow, that was phenomenal. That ball landed on the sidewalk past the main concourse in right center field.
Mark McGwire has just one out, and with one more swing can make his bid to be the home run king. But we, of course, do still have one name, albeit one very big name, coming up after Mark McGwire.
I feel like the fans that are in attendance today paid the big bucks to see some raw power. And from Mark and from the next hitter, I think we're going to see that.
Mark McGwire with 2 home runs here in this derby. I don't have a number on him on how many homers he has hit in the regular season for the Melonheads.
While we don't have any exact numbers, I know that the Melonheads, led by their fearless PM Jonah, have 4 home runs on the season, and I'm willing to put money on it, Ken, that 2 of those homers at least are in credit to Marky McGwire.
There's that ball out over the middle towards the outside of the plate that he's been looking for, but he fouls it back for another out.
A kid like Mark, too, we talk about his power. I think it's just the fact that he's grown so quickly at a young age. And that's part of what's fun to watch here with these backyard kids is boys, girls alike, they mature at different ages. And for a kid like Mark, thankfully, in his young age, he's matured well.
yet still not as much as Keisha Phillips.
Oh, Keisha. Bobisha.
The Flash. Mark McGwire taking his hacks, but taking his time.
So Ken, let me ask you: when you were as a kid in the backyard league, did you have any certain attributes that you felt like were your strong points?
I had, of course, the backwards hat like my dad.
Of course.
I had the wiggle, the bat wiggle. And then, of course, with my skills in video, I normally just ran the video board. It was not often that they let me play.
Sure. Wow. That's surprising.
Yeah, I was small for my age. And I also was a dandelion picker. Let's just put it at that.
Each team has a few. Mark here really waiting on his pitch as he lofts a ball high to second base.
We're still looking for that third home run to put Mark McGwire in the conversation for a home run derby king in this 2018 Backyard Baseball League inaugural home run derby.
You know, in this derby, too, you really search for those homers that put the fans on their feet. You know, they pay these ticket prices. They want to see the big show. They want to see some fireworks when they come out to the ballpark. And that's the hope that they ask from Mark McGwire.
Let's talk playoff picture.
Okay.
Because if we don't talk about it now, when
never
are we
get
going to
there.
talk
That's
about
true.
it? And that's what
That's
I'm
true.
talking about. Let's talk playoff picture. It is my conviction that the Expos are going to ride in at the number 1 seed.
Who?
That's what I like to hear.
All right.
There is a rocket to right field, center field, but it will strike the middle of the wall, not a home run.
So, what gives you such an intuition to believe that the Expos will take the league?
Well, it starts here. We had a conversation earlier about total run differential, and
There's a ball hit deep to right center field. Back. That baby's out of here. A blast by Mark McGwire.
Oh, I do love those. It's a thing of beauty to watch one lofted high, not quite sure if it'll make the wall, and drop on the other side.
The high anticipation for that is me as I wait for lunch. Very comparable.
And with that bomb, Mark McGwire has reached his third home run and therefore put him in the front running for the home run derby contest.
So to diverge back to our discussion, the Expos, right? Taking
Yes.
the league. Thoughts on
Yes.
that?
Well, and again, I do not necessarily think that they will be the outright winners of the league. I
Okay.
think they will enter the playoffs as the number 1 seed.
What? That? No. I disagree. I think that's just not going to happen. I don't see that happening.
And again, we talked about total run differential and how that makes the Bombers look like the favorite. But I think that to a certain degree, you have to throw it out the window and look at recent performance. There's been an uptick in incredible performance out of that team, where if you count week 8, the Expos have scored 14, 15, 23.
Wow. That is a nice uptick. But if I can just stop you here,
Yes.
I find your analysis a little bit unfounded, and here's why. You know, I'm looking at things like batting average, right? I'm looking at things like, production from the PMs. And what I'm seeing here is that the Athletics lead the league right now with a 625 batting average. Batting average, to me, is even a more consistent indicator than home runs as to a team's performance. And why do I think that? Is because you're looking at more of a general overall every at-bat contributing to that number,
I
right?
see. Yes.
Home runs are a individual stat line. So for me, the average is a much better indicator as to, hey, what are we going to see production-wise out of this person? Now, if you were to ask me, hey, Pedro, who do you think is going to win the league in the end of the year? You know who I'm going to say?
Who would you say?
I'm going to say the D-backs. That is a bold statement, and let me tell you why. The Diamondbacks have had a sudden uptick in performance and run production.
Yes.
Now, I believe that backyard players and PMs can catch fire. I believe the fire that the D-backs have caught is going to fuel their way to win the league to win the league outright. Now, I don't believe they're going to win the World Series in the playoffs, but the league outright, yes, they will. They'll catch fire. They'll win.
Now, I will mention one thing. We talked about batting average and how that is an important indicator as to a team's success. But I would point you back to the same thing that I noted earlier, in that for the Expos, that number may not reflect their production, in that they intentionally strike out 3 times a game at least.
Sure.
At least.
Right.
And so the batting average is not true to how often they're trying to get on base, but instead taking a lower batting average in order to yield what they believe is more runs.
Sure.
And I think that that's worth considering. Only time will tell, of course, but we did take time to talk with Jonah of the Melonheads to hear what he thought about the playoff picture. Now, this was a very casual conversation between myself and Jonah, so take that for what it's worth, and that you will probably get an utmost level of both honesty and frivolous life details.
I've only lost twice to the computer, so I feel like I'm improving. That's an upside. That's about the only upside I've got.
Do you feel like you've got a particular player who's a bright spot for you right now? Every time they come to bat, that's who you wait for.
I've got 3 players like that. Jose Garcia, or Jorge Garcia, Barry Bonds, and I don't. There's really just those 2.
But Jorge Garcia, that swing though.
I know. I don't get it. How he I don't ever get how he connects, but it always works.
What do you see as the keys for you to turn it around second half?
Finishing at home. I'm getting plenty of hits, but I can never get them around the bases. So I feel like once I start really hitting them in, I'll be okay.
What is your I guess not what is your first, do you have any bold predictions moving forward, league as a whole? So right now Derek's in first place, I'm in second, Paul's in third, Jonathan's in fourth. I believe it's then David, Pat, you. Recently, Jonathan and I have made a little bit of a resurgence here with some of our scores. Do you have any bold predictions before we head into the second half of the season and the playoffs based on some of the trends that you've seen?
Any bold predictions? I don't think Derek's going to finish number 1.
That's what I like to hear.
I think Paul will go from 3 to 1. I've played him twice now, and both times I've played him, he's absolutely crushed me. So
that is incredible, and that alone was worth the price of admission.
So you heard that there. Now, I do apologize for the low audio levels, but I hope you did catch Jonah's bold prediction that Derek Barnhart would not finish first, but instead Paul would finish first.
Look, I'm a big fan of bold predictions. I am. But you run a risk with bold predictions every time you state them, and that is the fact that you could be massively wrong. Bold predictions
That's what makes them bold predictions.
Exactly. But here's my point.
Yes.
Hear me out, okay?
Okay, I'll hear you.
So the bold prediction here is isolating one team versus another based on the fact of one PM's performance versus another individual PM's performance. I just don't do the correlation to total league results.
I think we would all agree that the numbers right now are for Derek Barnhart's Bombers. But we all have to wonder, how far can dropping bombs take you in the season? And we will find out.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I hate the guy as a PM. I do. I think Derek Barnhart is an absolute
bonehead decision.
Ignoramus, non-analytical.
Absolutely.
Trust the gut kind of. And I just can't put any stock in that. But what I do believe in that PM.
The numbers.
Results.
Yeah.
You can't deny results.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. Here to tell you more about it in Spanish is Pablo Sanchez, the last competitor in our home run derby. What do you say, Pablo?
And we both understand that Pablo Sanchez is, in most...
There is a absolute screamer to center field.
Wow, first pitch driven deep out of the ballpark to straightaway center field.
Now, Pablo Sanchez only needs 4 home runs to claim the crown. Anybody want to make a call right now as to whether or not he does it?
You know, honestly, it's hard to tell. There's been other players, other backyard players with power. Even Mark McGwire, I thought maybe he'd get more homers, but
There's the first out.
I'll take the over on Pablo.
I'd say partly because he's managed so well. And obviously, Pablo's 9 season home runs shows that he knows what pitch he's looking for. There's another pitch struck deep into right field. It's already out of here. Folks, it was out of here right now.
You know, a lot of individuals who do analysis for these kids talk about, hearing the ball off the bat, hearing a difference in sound. With Pablo, he's that guy. When he takes BP before games and at the ballpark, you watch those balls leave, I just don't see any comparison from him to other players. There is a distinct difference in the sound and how fast the ball leaves the ballpark. It's unbelievable.
I've never heard a ball scream in Spanish the way that it does when it leaves Pablo Sanchez's bat. We've got 2 home runs out of the secret weapon. Can he carry that momentum and take home the crown?
I mean, look at this. Even on his outs, the balls are sky high. One thing that has impressed me about Pablo so far is just not only just the homers, but his average as well. If we look at what he's doing to contribute to his team.
And there's a ball launched into right field. It's high, it's deep, not traveling fast. Does it have enough carry? It'll die in right field.
We look at Pablo's numbers besides just the home runs, right? We're talking about, 30 RBIs, 19 runs, only 4 strikeouts, 5 stolen bases. He's posting a 1.87 slugging percentage. And if you didn't hear me, I said 1.87 slugging. That is phenomenal. Not only that, he's sitting at a cool 709 batting average right now, over 31 at-bats.
There's a rocket to center field, and it's going to strike above the line for his 3rd home run.
Wow. Did you see how fast that ball left the bat? That was an absolute missile to center field.
Let's take into consideration that with 1 more home run, Pablo Sanchez will have stolen the crown. The toss from Mr. Clinky. The swing from Pablo Sanchez. It's a ball lifted deep, high to center field. It's got enough. It is out of here. A home run. Pablo Sanchez becoming the 2018 Backyard Baseball League Derby King.
Can I say I'm not surprised? Can I really say that? I mean, that ball was absolutely smashed. I don't even know if that ball is still in one piece.
Pablo Sanchez determined to put on a show here. Here's another one driven to center field. It is up, and it is out over the scoreboard in center field.
Wow. What an absolute tower of a home run. I gotta interview this kid's mom or dad after the game and figure out what the heck they feed this poor boy. He is hitting absolute taters.
But yet it's not reflecting in his developmental, we should just say it. He's short.
He does lack size, but what he lacks in size, he makes up in strength.
Here's another drive to deep center field. Gone.
Wow. I feel bad to be that batter's eye because it's sure taking a beating here in this round of the Derby.
Pablo Sanchez just making a laughing stock of the competition now. Just absolutely demolishing. And you know what? To give you some respect in some of the comments you made before, obviously, if this is what it's like game in and game out for the Bombers, good luck.
And, I think about what this might mean for the second half of the year.
There's another ball driven to center field. Forget about it. Absolutely forget about it. Oh, I just want a distance on that ball. That's all I want. I want to know how far that baseball traveled.
It could just be speculation, but from the other booth, I'm getting information that ball traveled 628 feet. 628.
I believe it.
Raw power. There's no aluminum bats.
There's
just raw
another
power.
ball driven to the exact same spot. Go find your Eho.
As Pablo likes to say, adios, baseball. And that ball still hasn't
my
landed yet.
goodness.
Unbelievable.
And our home run count, our tally is at 6, I believe, but I've lost track. I have lost track.
You'll notice, too, that Pablo is being very selective with his pitches, looking for balls that are covering the outer third of the plate. You can probably assume now at this point that Pablo has a much better chance of hitting bombs when he's selective with those pitches.
And I think it's worth noting that that's an approach we've seen a lot here today. We've seen a lot of people waiting for that pitch middle out
Yes.
instead of middle in.
Yes, definitely. And I mean that's one of the best pitches in the books. You know, with these kids being such young players, I think still working on a developmental level of being able to identify and properly turn on the inside pitch is difficult. Which, if you know, we're thinking at the flip side of this, any pitchers that are in the league should take note of this and understand that pitching inside may be more of a benefit than they think.
All right. Pablo Sanchez waiting to spank yet another baseball out of this park, knowing he's already got the crown, knowing he's got the adoration of millions of fans worldwide, knowing he's got the entire Bombers fan base and organization on his shoulders.
You know, it's interesting, the pitcher that Pablo decided to use for this game looks similar
There's
to...
a ball struck to right field. I can't even see it. I saw the ball for a moment before it was out of the ballpark.
I guess I thought that was a shooting star. I didn't realize that was the actual baseball leaving. He's having his pitcher today be Senor Clanky. But he looks very, very similar to Sosa's uncle that was pitching.
I think you can tell because when Mr. Clanky, when he pitches, his light blinks in Morse code. And if I'm making this out correctly, he's saying sayonara, baby.
That ball was hit on a line to right center but falls short. Is that in Spanish or in English, that Morse code?
It is spoken in Spanish, but understood in languages all around the world.
That is phenomenal. Pablo with a short fly ball to the infield, showing that he might be getting tired after hitting so many ginormous home runs. And this is one aspect of the home run derby that doesn't get enough talk. The stamina that players bring to the plate. It's hard to come up to the plate and hit homer after homer after homer. It really separates you from the pack, being able to consistently and repetitively hit home run after home run like Pablo does.
Well, I feel like a fool for thinking that this would go any other way. I feel like Sean Green is probably sitting in his hotel room right now with his head buried in his arms, crying, knowing that he will never be as good as Pablo Sanchez is, all 3.5 feet of him with a little belly sticking out.
Yeah, you know, it's really hard not to do it, but players shouldn't compare themselves to other players. It's like me trying to sit here comparing myself to you, Ken. You know, it's just we're never going to be the same person. You are just that much better at me than me at everything you do.
Right. And so we've got still a couple more minutes on Pablo Sanchez's home run show, which absolutely continues. I cannot believe the number of balls he is sending to straightaway center field.
That's another one off the batter's eye. I think that's the third ball he's hit off the batter's eye in this round.
And I would go so far as to say that while others have been
back.
wow,
That ball is
my
absolutely
goodness,
clobbered to deep
this
right
is
center field.
incredible.
You're going to have to go get a shopping cart to go pick that one up. That ball is in the next county. Unreal.
I want to go on the record and say I repent of Oh,
Oh, my word.
goodness.
Pablo with a ginormous homer to straightaway center. You know, just watching this, I'm kind of like, when he doesn't hit a homer, that's not natural.
Jordan Helwig, who last year was the player manager of the Wombats, the junior Wombats, drafted Ken Griffey Jr. number 1 overall. And part nostalgia, part gut. But I got to say, he was wrong. He was dead wrong. We've seen the performance of Pablo Sanchez here today. Absolutely otherworldly.
You know, hindsight is always 20/20, so PM shouldn't beat themselves up and looking in the past and thinking, I should have done this. You know, it's never really beneficial. What you can learn from the past, though, is what it means for your future. And for PM specifically, I go back to draft day, the biggest day of the year. It is crucial to be prepared, to know your players and know their strengths. If you go in and have presuppositions about certain individuals that are not founded on facts, you're going to have a tough time mid-season understanding why those players are performing so well.
And nothing does my heart so much good as hearing people talk about, next year on draft day, I'm going to do this. Next year, I'm going to do this. Because I've had that conversation with a couple other player managers and the way that they are already looking forward to draft day next year. Because I think you're right. I think that I think that that's why draft day is so highly anticipated, because it really is make or break. And then you've got a narrow window. Oh, my goodness.
Back. That baby is crushed.
And it will strike the scoreboard for a home run.
Wow. Number 4 off the batter's eye. Unbelievable. You know, this kid is something else. If he ever has the opportunity to go pro and play in the big leagues, I tell you what, I think he's going to be breaking some records.
That is absolutely demolished. I'm not sure we'll see this one come down.
Unreal how high he hit that ball.
Just before it went out of screen, we saw it strike the ground. Just one of the most authoritative blasts that we have seen here tonight.
You know, as Pablo continues this round, there is one thing. Oh, that ball is hit really hard, deep to right center. Does it have the distance? No, it lost its gas for a ground rule double.
Yeah, seriously, it's still insulting.
It's like half a homer. Doesn't count. You know, one thing I think I want to talk about while we watched Pablo transition into what he thought was his 15th out, what was actually his 14th, is the fact that, you know, we talk about launch angle. That's the hot topic.
Launch angle.
Launch angle is the new hot topic. But one thing I think is important to understand about it is certain players deny launch angle being effective. They don't believe in the fact, the new school way of thinking, that launch angle can help you as a player be more productive. Some of the backyard kids are still in the mindset that hitting down on the baseball is what's best. Honestly, Ken, I have no say either way. I think that launch angle is important, but I think it'll take a couple more years of StatCast to really analyze what that will have as an impact in the league.
And yet another ball driven deep to right field. And it is going to clear the wall for, I've very, very seriously lost count of how many home runs this young man has hit.
I believe with my expertise in counting, 1 to 17 or 16, that is homer number 16 now for Pablo Sanchez.
That is incredible. And if I'm correct, that when this was scored, balls that were struck off of the video screen, were those counted as outs or as home runs?
As home runs.
They were counted as home runs.
Yes.
Okay, I did want to check about that.
Wow.
That was very important.
What a phenomenal round by Pablo. The fans are on their feet giving a massive ovation to Pablo Sanchez for the fireworks that he put on tonight.
And rightfully so. There was absolutely no doubt once he started out at the pace that he did, he would claim the crown as home run king, and I'm sure continue to propel the Bombers to notable success the second half of the season. The question, of course, is how far is that success going to be?
I think of teams like a train, Ken.
A train.
Each team is their own train, and each team has an amount of fuel on board that train. What I really want to know is how much of that gas, that fuel, did the PMs use throughout the season to get them to the finish line? Some trains are going to move faster than others. Some trains are going to be quicker than others. But at the end of the day, the real question is, which train will reach there first? And honestly, that question and that answer are to be determined.
We're Ken Griffey Jr. and Pedro Alvarez.
The Pedro Alvarez,
We
World Series
know
winner. Don't forget.
absolutely nothing about the sport, about the game, about your personal lives,
Nothing.
but we're here to encourage you as you try to bring your train into the station of a 2018 Backyard Baseball League World Series. We're signing off.
Choo-choo.
Good luck.